Good evening, good evening. Sorry about that little glitch there. It's actually been a really good day. A lot of stuff got done today. Sales are fine as of now. I don't know how everybody else is doing. I see some comments already, which I'll hit on in just a minute here. I got some news on the glitch. I've conversed with eBay. I'll discuss that. I've been in conversations with Rockport now. Like I've got like their shoes or their knockoffs. That's kind of scary, but that's true. I might share the emails minus the person's email return address or anything. But I was kind of blown away that they couldn't just say yeah. Even by the label, they couldn't tell. Either or. They don't know either way, which is just shocking. Everybody is hopefully still hanging in there. I do get constant emails and questions and things these days, and I mean a lot. I mean more so than I've probably ever gotten before. And there's just no way on earth that I could get to them, because just on like one site, I could get 40 or so a day just on one spot. And there's just no way I can address 90 or so, I guess, is I think the average lately, questions, comments, and stuff on a daily basis. There's just no way on earth I could hit to those, unfortunately. So sorry. If there was more of me, yes, especially right now, we don't have any employees, so we're doing everything. And we're still doing the same sales, just minus all the extra help. So it doesn't help a lot. You know, I don't have extra free time right now. Just FYI. Let's see who's on here, because my feed does sometimes drop off. I do welcome everybody in tonight. Cornelius, how are you doing? Hopefully you are doing well. Things are surprisingly good. I had some music blaring just before the show. You know, I have Modern Day Cowboy stuck in my head right now, if anybody knows Tesla at all. I got Duncan in here. Morning, Don. My supply line is in trouble. My UK agents have enough stuff and sent me heaps, but their stock parcels are not arriving here. Yeah, mail is delayed. The U.S. Postal Service has issued statements on it. If you go to the site, you can see them as well. And I think even on their Facebook page, I think it's where somebody else pointed me to as well. They're announcing that there's a delay. I've got delays all over the place on packages coming and going. Even first-class letters, I've had issues where it's taken like twice as long. And these are people that I send to, you know, sometimes twice a week I may send to the same person. And then I've gotten packages from the same source. I had one package that was sent, the second package from this source, and then 4 or 5 more packages, purchases and things that we were sending back and forth were sent off. I got all of those, and the very second one I still didn't get for another week. So that one was like, I think like 9 or 10 days beyond what it should have been delivered. So I'm just, you know, taking it that, you know, it's just taking longer. Everything's shown up. So I'm not one to jump on it if I don't need any of this stuff, you know, a shirt or whatever else, you know, at any given point. I know customer-wise I've had some complaints, but again, in fact, I think I have a link or a title of the article, and you know, they can go check it out on the webpage, you know, U.S. Government's Postal Service webpage, USPS.gov, I think is what it is. You know, that is a big issue right now. I've had people ask questions and comment on certain services that aren't going to certain countries. There are still some countries that aren't interacting with our postal service, whether it be due to sick people or you know, not enough pilots or just, you know, stuff shutting down. So there are some issues going on. And I've been trying not to ship too much globally without being able to have, you know, tracking or obviously eBay's global shipping program. I don't care, because if it gets lost once they get it, I'm all set. And it always makes it to Kentucky. I've never had an issue where, and I'm talking never in 10, 15, however long they've been doing the program, I've never had an issue with an item not showing up at their facility in Kentucky. You know, so that's the one with that. So I see Linda. How are you doing, Linda? Yes, it is a very wonderful day today, I have to say. It's always good to get a bunch of stuff done and be ahead of the game, kind of. Not really ahead of the game, I guess, but we got a huge score, and it's even bigger than, you know, it was. I got 130 pounds at this point of uniform buttons, all like 19th century, real nice ones, British ones, the whole works. Most of them are U.S. and stuff, but biggest assortment I've ever seen in my entire life. Real nice pieces. So it was a good plus for us. And they're coming from two different sources. We had a connection in Cincinnati for a regalia company, and I'm not going to call any names, but in something that's been a storage building of theirs for, like 100 years. Somebody owned it, used it for something else. There's all this stuff that was in the attic, and I've been working on acquiring that. I've had boxes shipped in, and I'm talking, 50, 100 pounds worth of this stuff sent over. So we got other stuff too, but that was like a thrill to me. It was something really cool to get, something I've never even come across, even like at a button show, which I'm a member of a button society in the whole works too. And just FYI, I'm into that kind of thing. In fact, videos that went up on Patreon today, you got the free sites that you can use for buttons, and then the next one that goes up is going to be showing a massive amount, poundage of vintage buttons. And we're going to show books and stuff in that next one for those. I do see several already, a couple more actually now, Patreon's on. So, if you're into that thing, you'll get to see a lot of that. Some things I only share on there, it's more a specialized area, I guess, and I don't want it everywhere anyway. Hudson Resell. How are you doing? Doing good. And yeah, you're talking about the padded flat rates. All of the rates are behind. The only one that didn't seem to be affected was some media mail. All my records are going out, and sheet music are going out without issue, because they're usually 8 or so days, and they're just running that long anyway. So, in the past, the medium mail sometimes would get there before first class. I've had it in a few cases. It just depends on routing and who pulls something off a truck or a plane at a certain time and how quickly they get it onto the next thing. I mean, there's a whole line of successions that if one person messes up something, it could put it off on a whole nother day or who knows what. I know in some cases, depending on the type of mail, like media, there's no rush. Something could sit at a facility until they fill a truck up that's only running media. And you could get that package there to a facility, and they only needed a few more boxes to put on there, and you could be rolling before the first class mail gets there, which is possible. It just depends on routes. I don't pay much attention after it gets past a certain point, but after looking at tracking for years, a decade or more, you kind of know where a hub is when it's going to this location, or if it makes it to Arizona at this spot in Phoenix, something like mine goes through Detroit, Ann Arbor, there's also Sylvania. I know when it hits one branch, when it's going to be delivered. Pretty much almost I could set my clock by it, because they've got a pattern. Where the trucks are supposed to be at a certain time. I know when they arrive at one facility, I get certain package so many days later and all that kind of stuff too. But that's just I watch our packages coming and going all the time. I'll get questions on stuff, where's my package, blah, blah, blah. I'll usually just give them a quote from what my tracking says. And my tracking's all shipped through eBay. So, it's all right there. They can look it up too. But I don't want to say, hey, and say, hey, you should have looked. I give them the information and then tell them it's there as well. You can check at any point as well, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it hasn't affected me with any feedback, I should say, either, nor any upset customers. I think everybody's been fairly forgiving on that issue, at least the ones I've had. We'll talk about the glitch in just a few minutes here, because again, as I said, I was and have been conversing with someone who's in charge of a department at eBay over this, and he was conversing with, I'm assuming it was a tech department, I think is what the last message was. So, Disney Family 515, how are you doing this evening? Grace, how are you doing? Sales are going great. Good to hear. I have to say, now if I look at eBay's, like month over last, we're up 56% month over last, and then year over last by eBay's, I think it's 28.2%. And maybe I'll take a screenshot or something, pop it on Instagram. Again, Instagram, I'm on there too. I try to post stuff, and obviously I've been behind this past week, but it's the Auction Professor too. But things have been just rolling. I really can't complain at all. Those numbers are good. I honestly didn't expect that. And I expected to have a little more time to do other things, minus my employees, and that really kind of hurts a little bit, I should say. We're still doing offers to watchers. Now I'm only doing them once a week now, and I'm doing them on the weekends now. I'll do them like Thursday night, and try to get them all done by Friday. That's because most people seem to be off on the weekends. More stuff are closed on the weekends, so there's more chance of it sitting around, I would gather. And I run them for the 2-day, or I think you can set the length to 2 days. I think what I have them all set at. Anyway, it has been good. Black Crystal Dice, how are you doing? Greetings. There's Carl in sunny Florida. I haven't looked at the weather in a week or so. I don't know if it is sunny down there this time. We talked to some friends who, in the Disney family of us, talked to some friends down there, and I think they said it was nice. Jeffrey D., how are you doing? Rich Sanders right below, good evening. And I've got Summers 422. Hey, Annie, I did see your email. I haven't had a chance to check that out yet, but I do appreciate that very kindly, Annie. I can't remember what it was about, and I wrote a note down on it, too. I'll check it out tomorrow, but I know there was a link in there for, it was Brimfield's. That's what it was. Thank you, Annie. It won't be the same, but if you've ever been to Brimfield's, and Annie's from that area, Massachusetts, that's like the biggest. In fact, button-wise, I got some, probably the third or fourth best button purchase I ever got. I got at Brimfield's, and they were Confederate KMI buttons. Look those up if you want to know what those are. Real nice ones. RMDC, raised mark depressed channel backs, primo buttons, and I paid like $5 a piece for them. I mean, these are $100+ buttons, and I got a bunch of them. Anyway, long story short, it was a great trip. We loved going to Brimfield's. We flew up there early. I was working, and I flew up there the weekend early. I was supposed to be there, I think, Sunday night, and we flew in Friday, and I just paid for a couple extra nights in the hotel. And we sent so much stuff back in the mail on Monday from going those 2 days. It was just awesome. I mean, even the flight in was cool. It was a really nice time flying into Boston. If you've ever been to Boston Logan Airport up there, and you come in through the clouds, when you come out of the clouds, you're right there, and the water's right below. It was really cool. It was an interesting experience. I didn't like the transporters and all that stuff, but Logan's not bad. I liked Boston for those in that area. We stayed up in House of Seven Gables for 2 nights. It was. Annie knows more about that. And we also were in Saugus area, Peabody, that whole area up there, and drove through New England. It was a very enjoyable whale watching. I mean, I can't express how nice Boston was, that trip we made, me and the wife. We had our youngest, only one child. It was a wonderful time, I have to say. Something I will never forget. We whale watched, and it was really, really, really cool. It was one of those bucket list kind of experiences, I have to say. And that's even with the big dig going on while we were there and stuff going on and roadblock. It was worth the traffic, I have to say. Red River Group, how are you doing? Molly Davis, good evening. Angie, I won't try and pronounce that because I think I will mess that up. Laperouse, pardon me if that's not right. And I see Carl again. Let me pop down if my feed doesn't get disappear. My sales are way up, and I have no time for the emails. It's nuts. Good problem, I guess. Yeah. Hope you and yours are good. Gonna listen background on packing. Yeah, the packing the last couple of days. Oh my God, I had to pack a lot of stuff this morning, and I'm gotten to be anal retentive about packing and taping and all this stuff, and I spent way too much time and killed some time. But I mean, I had the music going, and I was just kind of rocking out, I guess. It was a good experience too, but I spent too much time. Karen A., how are you doing? Do you sell, here's from Gabe, do you sell old photographs? Definitely, all the time, constantly. I just sold one yesterday. I sold 4 or 5 the day before that. Auctions running right now. I've got in photos, old photos up, probably 5,000. I've got 4,000 8x10s probably up between military, Air Force, and all that kind of stuff. Then I've got NASA ones. And I've got movie-related stills, lobby car. I got all that kind of stuff. I love photos. I love individual photos. China photos are my favorite. Duncan should know that one, too. I love Hong Kong photos, but I don't sell most of them anymore. I started to keep them just for sheer art. I'd love to draw one out and do some illustrations or my own something with it anyway. I have some old photos and I'm trying to identify the people in them. You can do a Google or a Chrome search by the images. So if there's somebody famous, just use that image. What's it? I can't remember. It's set on a favorite, but I think it's Google Photos or something like that. You can do it from your phone too if you've got an Android or an iPhone. It'll do it on both or all three of those places. But you can image search. And I only have done that a couple of times, but it works just fine. I couldn't remember. It was a French colonel or something like that. Not a colonel, general from World War II. And I knew by the uniform what it was. But sure enough, it found out who he was. It came up with like 7 or 8 more images of the same guy with his name below it. So it works. I can't say it works all the time, but the few times I've used it, it worked just fine for images like that. I do it on a laptop. The phone, I could never get it to do what I want because I couldn't figure out how to select it the way it said you should. So anyway, there's instructions on how to do that. Just do a Chrome search on how to do that, and it'll tell you as well. It's like a 4-step thing. It's really easy. Mark Hicks, how are you doing, California? eBay sales are really booming, and that's why I haven't been sending out offers to watchers as much. I did throw some stuff on sale, and I had rushed to get some of the offers to watchers out, and the sale kicked in too soon, so some of the offers came out. They were higher than the discount. I always hate to do those together, and I said I wasn't going to do it that way, and then I messed up and did it that way. So, I was in a groove. I was getting a lot of stuff done, and I said, well, let me just do that. So, and I put half as many. I think I've got like 18% of the store on sale. I think last time it was like 34%. I cut that in half because sales are still coming in. I just limited my sales. Again, after I did offers to watchers, I limited my sales to older items below a certain dollar value just to get rid of them. And some other questions that I had that I did see. Hang on just a second. I am parched. I've been talking on the phone today too for a little while. But some of the other questions, oh shoot, I'll come back to that in just a minute here. Just lost my train of thought on that one. Hang on just a second. Let's see if my feed doesn't bounce all over. Most of our shipment delays are to Michigan. It's probably running through Detroit. I've had 2 or 3 holdups in Detroit where it arrives. Now if I remember right, there is two technical. There's a Detroit regional and then like a Detroit branch or something like that. So, and depending on what side of Detroit you were on, whether you're north or south, you've got Ann Arbor as well as another one. There's like 4 that I keep track of, and I can usually tell. But they're running behind. I can tell you for sure the Detroit one. In fact, one of the packages I had like a 5-day delay, 5 business days, so 7 total day delay on one of those. I'm just putting up with it. I mean, I'm still selling. No one seems to care. Again, about auctions. Auctions are working again. I don't think I've had this good of a result on auctions in like the whole last 5 years. And honestly, because I gave up on auctions for a while there. Unless it was something really rare or bizarre or I just had it on for a while. I'll just throw it up on an auction sometimes. Maybe I could hold out. Maybe not. I sold a photo and I showed it in a video. It's been on my Instagram page of it's a Japanese CDV and I got like $587 for it. It's like a dollar thing I paid for it. And hang on here. Totally lost that. There was a question in there. Anyway, let's just go on to the questions here. I don't want to get sidetracked again. I know people say I don't get to most of the questions. I do apologize, but I try to answer them down. Let me just stick to the questions. I don't want to get sidetracked again. I'm sorry. There goes my feed. Hang on just a second. Yeah, I've been busy all day, so I'm kind of like running a mile a minute. I've been drinking iced tea, and caffeine for me is, I get going on caffeine. I'm not a big caffeine drinker at all. In fact, we usually mix half decaf and half regular to dilute it when we mix it because we do a big family batch. If I go to a restaurant, I'm usually drinking iced tea, unsweetened with lemon. But let's see here. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. How's Les doing this evening? Fiho, how are you doing? for selling, now I've had questions, what's selling and all this stuff. Everything I normally sell is still selling. And I've had questions on, and I've talked about demographics a little bit before. Demographics for what I sell, most of the folks that buy the stuff that I have disposable income. They can spend money without worrying about a paycheck, is the gist of it. Schools that buy from me, it doesn't matter. Even, I'm still getting purchases from like movie prop houses and things like that for some items that we do mess with. Some bigger stuff too. We've crated stuff. I mean, I've had to build crates and stuff to have them pick stuff up with a semi and stuff. I worked at Disney, so I still have some connections here and there for some things. But, you know, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the questions too. It's been good all the way around. I mean, I can't complain at all, in all honesty, on the sales. Sales wise, I mean, everything that I normally sell, as I said, is selling right now. There's no difference. Collectibles always sell. I don't have a summer drop off. Duncan, there's 2 or 3 other people on here that'll probably tell you the exact same thing that they have. They don't have a summer drop off like you would selling like winter clothes, trying to sell winter clothes in summer, or coats or jackets and things like that. I don't have that drop off because the people that buy collectibles collect all year round. They collect around when they have extra money, which is usually at the end of the week or the end of the month after they pay rent. It just depends on what type of item they're buying. Somebody buying a almost $600 photo doesn't really care what time of year it is if they can afford $600 with the pandemic. You know, those are the type of folks that you want to attract to your store. I mean, those are the people that I go after for customers. I'll spend a lot more money on stuff if I know I'm going to get people in there because I can charge more money and offer a service of acquiring stuff they couldn't find anywhere else, I guess is the point. Now, let me say Pawn Stars for just a minute. I know people, I know a lot of it's all set up and all that stuff. But, you know, there's more to the stuff that comes in and why they buy certain things in that store or why they're acquired for it. People want stuff on the wall. They want stuff to bring people in to say, hey, that's something cool. So, you know, I've shelled out good money on stuff that, you know, most other people would have thought was too high just to get people into the store, you know. They'll follow you if you get stuff that's like in a certain range or a certain grade all the time, if that makes any sense. Whether it be stamps, coins, comics, postcards. I sell to the same people constantly. You know, these days it's almost every day I'm dealing with somebody I've dealt with before at some point. You know, in all honesty, at least some of my customers, there's days where 3 different people have bought multiples, you know, on that same day, you know, each one of those 3 different people. So, you know, it's taken us 10 years to build that type of client up. But, you know, once you get it, they're diehard fans that come back to you, I guess is the point. Fans or whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to equate it to something like that, but they know your shop has what they want, and it's a whole bunch of good stuff to look at. That's one draw to having massive quantities of stuff up in your store. You've got such a variety, there's always something for them to look at. There's no way they're going to even scratch the surface and even looking at your store for a couple of days, in all honesty, when you got tens of thousands of things up. And that's a draw, you know, that you've got so much quantity. Like if some of the buyers that buy like high dollar cards or something that'll spend $500 or $1,000, which we've sold cards like that too, or records, you know, they're going to keep coming back when they see stuff that they want, and they're going to save you and constantly come back and check it out. I'll sell to, like, if I put a new batch of 78s up, and somebody might have bought from me 6 months ago, and he'll have my store on there, and he might buy a whole bunch like the very first night they go up. Now, I don't know if there's apps that will set up like watch lists, because I don't really buy like that stuff on eBay personally, but there must be. I know there's sniping tools and things like that. I'm not a big one on any of that stuff. If I can't just buy something, I'm not going to mess with it these days. Let's see here. Are you a collector? Good evening. Welcome, welcome. BG Sims, how are you doing? Seattle. Now, I have not been in Seattle. Hey, Robert, how are you doing? Lower New York. You can't beat that. I've been through New York a couple of times. Coming back from Niagara Falls even once or twice. We just got in 2,000 leather dog collars. Any advice on best way to move them? You know, dog collars would be, if they're on NOS, I'm assuming, is that what you said on there? I would assume you were talking NOS. I'd try them on Amazon if I was you. I'd put them on Amazon. I'd put them, depending if they're leather, you could probably get away with putting those on Etsy, eBay for sure. I wouldn't put them all up at once, depending on how much you get into them. You know, I would try to list a few and see what happens. Most people around here, you can still walk your dogs. Everybody, that's your exercise if you want to do that. So, you know, there's no a lack of people wanting, you know, dog collars. That would be my take on it. You know, we spend money on our dogs. One of them just had surgery, as I said, and the other one has an issue too. They're getting older, so maybe next time I'll shoot a shot and you can see her scar. She's got for the size of dog she is, it's a pretty darn big scar she's got from where they had to remove a lump under the skin. Let's see here. Yeah, you can multi-pack them too. I mean, check out what your competitors are doing. You know, you can rank them on Amazon. Use Amazon to figure out the rank on those versus the other ones. You can also compare trending on the other brand and your brand if they're, you know, full-fledged branded. Just FYI, that would be something that I would do. And then I would hack at the keywords and see what keywords are going to get it. And again, the order of the keywords technically doesn't matter, but on a phone it could, because, again, where you block off words, obviously everybody knows only so much of the title shows up on your first slide through on that listing. So I try to put the main keywords in the front for that sort of thing. It helps a little bit. Any little niche you can get up or step up you can get at all, even a tiny one, can help you make a sale over somebody else. Just like awesome photos. That's what you want. With the collar, I would curl them up like I do. I do belts like that. If I have like a military belt or something, I'll curl it up with the buckles showing, obviously. And if it has a tag, the tag would be in the front. And I would do, which I usually don't, would be like an angle down so you can kind of see the side and the top so you know it's a belt. That would just be my take. Let me pop down here some more. There goes my feed. Picking NW, how are you doing? Northwest could be a lot of areas. Yeah, I don't know if they would buy 3 dog collars at a time. That might be a good assumption too, Annie. That's a good call. Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I wished I would have bought a 3-pack of like dog collars. For Jinx, my little white Chihuahua, there's one that we really liked and we could never find another one of it. I'll buy 3 of the same shirts, but I know dog collar might be a little off than that. Carl, I'm up 82% over last month. Very, very good. I haven't done the math on overall. Again, I overall wise have sales. If I had people listing, I would probably be doing much better, but our listing is way down in quantity listed just because of sheer time. Mostly my employees list for us. Now we try to do some listings, you know, electronically, you know, from their house where they could list, but it just isn't practical or logistical wise, with IPs and all that kind of stuff too. So, and safety wise, I was a little nervous. Jeffrey D. I had to ship a record to Florida. It went to Iowa, Oklahoma, Kentucky, and then Georgia before going to Florida. Yeah, I mean, they might go to a whole truck. It might just follow the line on down. Who knows? Or they may have never taken it off and just scanned it in at each airport and then, you know, wheeled it back on out at the last stop. I'm never surprised anymore on the transportation. It's never a straight line, but again, it's logistics. I had to coordinate transportation in Washington, Virginia, and Maryland for Einstein Brothers at one point, and you know, there's a little more to it. You drive all over the place and stuff, but you set up routes, and may not always be the best, but it's what works for you, I guess. Larry, love your show, very informative content. Well, thank you very kindly. I am parched today. Carl, it's low 90s and mid 80s for weeks. Very nice. I like being able to wear a jacket, I guess, even if it's just a light jacket personally. I mean, I don't mind summer, of course, but I spent 10 years plus in Florida, and that was about enough, I guess, at that point. Maybe sometime I'll move down again when I'm older, I guess, the retiree thing, I don't know. Amazon isn't an option for the collars. They are new old stock with no UPS and private detail with no formal invoice. Well, you can get an exemption for them. You don't have to worry about UPC. You should still be able to sell those. I sell stuff like that all the time. I don't worry about stuff like that. Well, of course, I'm ungated in stuff that you may not be, but you should be able to put in for a approval for it. You could also just buy UPC and put some stickers on them. I don't know about cost into them, what that would entail, but it's not super, super expensive. I think you can get a UPC code for like $5.95 or something. I mean, it would assign one to your item, and then you could do whatever you want, mass produce those. You could print them up on one-ups or on, what are they, 36-up sheets, I think is what the last ones we had. We've printed barcodes and stuff, our own UPCs, and ISBN numbers too for some of the items that we've done. Because I do have items that, I've printed. You may not see them, I may not share stuff like that, but I've been into this for a very, very long time. I worked at a printing company, even a magazine that did printing and stuff for, when I was in high school, if that tells you. I was a yearbook staff. I did all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. But that would be an option. I would look into something like that if it was me, just personally. I would seek getting authorization, even if it meant I had to buy for $5 or $6, because you're talking you got 2,000 of them. I don't know the longevity on getting them sold, but you maybe would run a promotion. Your cost of acquisition may be a little higher per sale, but you might be able to move them all pretty quickly. It just depends if there's something appealing or you have some niche or something you could tie with them. Just FYI. There's stuff that can be done with stuff like that. We made some money. I had a video and I talked about bulk. I made some money off an animal-related thing that, everybody else it was there for a while. I looked into it. I checked out all the codes. I know people have said that stuff shows up broken. If they do, I've called and had issues and they fixed it. So, I mean, I can't tell you what they do with everybody else, but they have a 7-day warranty on it that are supposed to cover the cost of lost and damages. And bulk's one of the bigger ones. They've been around for a while. I've seen some phenomenal bulk purchases, and I have seen some ones that look terrible in videos. Again, I don't know how how it showed up. I didn't see it from the minute it left bulk to the minute subscriber. I don't know. People do all kinds of things, so I'm not going to judge on good, bad, or indifferent. But my experience was okay. That's all I can tell you. Somebody else may tell you totally different on stuff like that. Just FYI. Wholesalers are usually the best in my honest opinion, aside from stuff like that. But they do work. Pallets were fine. We've done pallets before. I just don't have the space, and what I do now, I like what I do, and pallets are a chore unless you buy ones that have like the same product, like 100 or 200 of the same thing, of something that's actually sellable. That's the key. Like the dog collars. If they're the right ones, he may be able to market those a certain way or pay just a little bit in advertisement and put those on top of the other ones and move them really quick, especially if his cost into them isn't very high and the acquisition cost per customer is fairly low because of keywording or whatever you can do with that, SEO or anything. Just FYI, you can do business to business if you want to pallet them off on Amazon if you're in B2B. If you're not, you should be able to apply for it, I think. I did it. I've been in there for a couple years. I don't know what it is like right now, but B2B, just type in B2B on the search page probably from Seller Central, I think, is where I originally got an offer for it. And you can apply, I would imagine, still. And you could sell it off to another business on a pallet. Just FYI, there's small, pet supply companies, I'm sure, like the mom and pa's, that may be something you could sell by the case or something even. Let's see here. Yeah, I got your UPS there. Yep, I got that one. Hello from Vegas. Well, I've been to Nevada, I think, twice in my life. Once we drove through, too, so 3. Mary O. George Kelly from Chicago. I spent a couple nights in Chicago before. Windy City. I had an uncle who lived, well, I don't think he was an uncle. I think he was a cousin. I was like 7 or 8, and he lived downtown. and he had this big window in the front, and it was all the lights at night. It was the only time I had ever spent the night in a high-rise building. I guess high-rise for Chicago was pretty big, but it was really neat as a kid. As an adult, it's not my big fantasy. Nothing wrong with there, but I don't like big cities or anything. I'm not a big fan of big cities like New York or anything. Nothing against New York, just not my thing. I've been in New York, so I've experienced it. Been on the subway. Let me slide down here. Trying to get to questions today. Denny Payne, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Well, thank you very kindly. Kilroy, is there a good website for identifying and pricing military patches? There's a bunch of websites for patches. I would go to some of the key ones that sell them. Identifying them, again, you can just go back. If you don't have a book, you can Chrome them. You can just image search on Chrome. That would be my best guess. Or type in what's on them. I'm familiar with most of the patches. Again, my father was in the military. I was a military brat. I've bought and sold military stuff forever. I've shown patches in Patreon videos and regular videos, and that's just a small little assortment. But there's a bunch of books, and I believe there are probably a dozen or better sites. They're more military related. I don't have them off the top of my head because it's like Dave Burns' World War I site and stuff like that. I mean, for those in Patreon, one of those sites I shared with you, I think, has patches on it too, at least UK patches. There's a bunch of sites for that kind of stuff, in all honesty. If you just type in patches, WW2, you should find or type in patches WW2 and then online guide, and you should find a couple for sure. That would probably be your easiest search terms, would be my guess. I've got some saved again, but I don't remember all the names on them. It's stuff that I've had for years, and I just click on favorites. Mine are all synced between laptops, so wherever I'm at, I've got the same favorites. So if you've got a bunch of laptops, set your browser up that way too. I would honestly say Chrome does it awesome. Are you a collector? Hang on, let me see if my feed will get lost. Hang on. Yep, there goes my feed. Hang on, gotta go back and find my feed. Okay, here you are. Are you a collector? Don, I found a couple of letters from WW2 that are on the U.S. Mosquito Fleet letterhead. Not sure how to list for price. I didn't see any identical letters. Your videos got me to look for these. Just type in Mosquito Fleet, and that's it. And if that's what it says on there, just type in those two words and just do them in collectibles in general. Don't search down anywhere else than that, and do that from Terapeak. That's what I would do if I was searching that up. That'd be the first thing I would do. I would also do a wiki on it too, and see just the history on it, just to see, because there might be some other name that's more prevalent than Mosquito Fleet. Just FYI, that would be my rough estimate on that. I believe those are what, PT-109s or something like that, maybe. I don't even recognize the name. I know Mosquito Coast and some of the gun runner boats and stuff like that, but letterhead, it's good if it's complete too, and the content will mean something either way you go on those as well. But do a search just with Mosquito Fleet, as I said. Don't do anything else and keep it on just collectibles. Larry, do you use Facebook Marketplace for sourcing? I can't remember when I've looked on. Around here, I've called, and when Facebook Marketplace was so hot, everybody was saying, I would call on here and I would check the ads, and every single time I'd get in contact and it would look like a good deal, and I'd ask some questions, and it turned out it was some dealer. I always ask them, well, where'd you come across these? I kind of word it a little better so it doesn't sound like I'm trying to figure something out. And most of the time their answers are hoard, or they're leftovers. They've just been buying them for a while and just decided they want to sell them, which makes no sense unless they play them. They're usually such out there content that it's just not worth my time. And half the time the ones around here, I've met somebody and it turns out it's another dealer, and I'm like, that's pointless for me to do that around here. Maybe in some areas it's great, but not around here, because there's not a lot of sourcing opportunities and things like that, so everybody bombs the same ones. That's why got the pickers and I go outside. I got 100-mile area radius we hit, only because if I didn't, I wouldn't have, got these contacts. I came into here and it was all these old timers that are still here, and I had no way to break in, and it's taken me years to get into with some good pickers and stuff again, because they were dealing with other people, and once they let them down, I was able to move in. Of course, again, this is 10 years in now. We're on our 10th year, heading towards 11th year almost now, but Dr. Full, I do like buy it nows, but in all honesty, the auctions for some items are working. I mean, my rule back when I list some things, as well as, I'll let them run for a while, a year or two, maybe 3 years, depending on what they are, and then I'll assess them. And I assess them once or twice through this time frame. Things like photos. If I have like 4,000, I think we're down to like 1,000 or 2,000. I think 2,000 up, and I got another 4,000 in inventory over here of World War II-ish airplane photos, 8x10s, black and whites, from the companies that made them. If you look at my store, you see me sell them all the time. I'll blow out some of the ones that have been up for 2 years or so at an auction for $9.99. I usually list them either $34.50 or $57.50, and we had a whole bunch for $57.50 when we first listed them, and then I was selling them at that. Then I stagger them down to $34.50. Sometimes I'll do a bunch of sales, and then after they've been up for this length of time, then I roll them into an auction is what I usually do. And I would list them at an auction at $9.99 a piece. At this point, I got nothing. I got zilch. I mean, nothing whatsoever into them, because like the first night I listed these things, the real good ones went immediately. And one guy bought like 10, another guy bought like 11 or 12 of them. Somebody else bought 4 or 5. And this is all like the first or second night. And we paid for all of that purchase and made a profit. And a couple $100, if I remember the grand total at the end of the day. And I mean, I spent some money on these, so don't get me wrong. It cost money and drive time and list time and all, but we made a fortune off those things. I mean, thousands. I could buy a car off of what we made off of just those type of photos. Not a brand new one, but a 10 grand car, something probably for the kids at the end of the day. And it's just photos that, are at auctions and pickers and estate sales and things like that. It's the only way to acquire mass quantities. And you got to drive a big distance sometimes. You've got to cover some ground. Usually it's a straight shot if I'm going somewhere. I'm going to one source. I know what's there. Or if I'm going to go like a sourcing to one stop, I'll set up a whole bunch of stops all right around there, so I don't just kill time going to one spot and then just wasting the rest of the day. I always have something set up. I don't waste time if I'm doing it. Time's a waste to me, and it aggravates the heck out of me if I waste time. OCD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it, but I get it's one of my pet peeves. I hate when someone's late, even by a couple minutes. It drove me nuts in the restaurant. People are getting off, and then I got to hold them over and pay them for another 10 minutes, and on and on and on. It's a nuisance. Let's see here. Gabe's saying some of them have names, but I could only find limited information. Let me slide down. I have 3 photos that are a little orange folder thingy. They like servicemen and women from the 40s. Yeah, there's so much of that type of material. They could just be, Joe down the street or something, in all honesty, and stuff like that. Unless there's a uniform or something to say that it's worth looking up, I've got an eye, because again, I've looked at this stuff for decades. You got to know, who's famous, I guess, to some extent. I know all the movie stars all the way back to like Maude Adams from like 1890s, because I do trade cards, I do theatrical items all the way back to the 1850s if I can get them. I'll do anything paper-wise that back, and you get to know the names and faces when you've handled so much stuff. Face recognition is important, I guess. Even if you may not remember the name of the person, knowing that it's somebody famous will at least give you that notch up, I guess I would say. Chicago lady, well, welcome from Chicago as well. Gail, trying to bid on online auction and watch you too. You can always watch it later. I don't even know what time it is now. Oh, we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Let me shoot off on the eBay glitches. Now, I'm not going to call out. I think his name is Brian, if I remember. I'm terrible on names some days. Today's been a long day. I've talked to like 20 people today. But he's in charge of a department at eBay. I've talked to him last year. I had a video conference with him last year. I've conversed now with a couple back and forth with him. They're saying, this is what they're saying now, and I'm going to tell you my take on it in just a second here. But they're saying that yes, people who you have blocked are able to contact you, but they're saying it's a glitch that's not related at all, apparently, to offers to watchers. Now, I find that extremely hard to believe. Now, I'm not saying Brian's obviously talking to IT. I'm not saying he's trying to falsely say anything at all. I don't believe that at this point. I believe he's being honest with what they're telling him, but maybe they're not logging something. Maybe it's not showing up where it should and they're not realizing it, but it's now happened to me twice. Just the other day, in fact, the last time I called him back, it just happened the night before, so I added that into that, gave him the item numbers and the people's numbers and the whole works, so it's happened twice. Both times the glitch happened where one of these people I blocked for them being just a total A were able to now contact me. It happened within less than an hour, both times, of me sending offers on both of those items that they were now contacting me on. Both of them. And not just that. Once I put that video up, I got a ton. 50, I don't know how many, but a ton of people saying they had similar glitches that were all tied to things when they send offers out. It's only happened from everybody I've talked to, including to myself, from offers to watchers. I have a very hard time believing that it's not tied to offers to watchers, especially because some of the issues that have been happening where people aren't able to buy the item are from like your settings for buyer requirements, like that if they've got so many item strikes for unpaid items, they can't bid on your items. They can't bid on so many more items, like a certain amount of items at a certain time. There's a bunch of settings. I think there's 4 settings you can put in and over there, and that's under site preferences, which should be very readily findable by anybody. I think it's even on your main page, your hub main page. So, I mean, there's a bunch of people telling me the same thing, exactly the way I see it, that it's got to be tied to offers to watchers. I at this point, unless they can show me otherwise, I don't believe that. And I don't know how many times they've told me stuff that wasn't true and turned out to not be true, and turned out that they had to come out and say it wasn't true, either to me or openly on a website or something else like that. Again, I love eBay, but some of the issues and things that they don't know what's going on aggravates the heck out of me, including their management. I wouldn't include the guy I've talked to because he's not in charge of the board or any of that stuff. He's worked there for a long time. Not to defend anybody, but I think he's a straight shooter in my book. At least he played off as well. Maybe they don't know all the other departments and he only knows his department, but either way, he seemed like he was being fairly legit on what he was told. But I just don't buy it. I'm asking anybody who's had that similar issue if you can leave a comment in the comment section. I would honestly like to get this fixed because it's now, I've spent probably 20 some odd emails between these people, and I should just cut off the email, but then they don't stop, and it's anyway. If you have similar issues where after sending out offers to watchers, somebody who you've blocked in the past has contacted you, please leave a comment down. If it's happened because of site preferences you did for buyer requirements, the same thing. Please leave a comment down below. You know, it's troublesome to me because, you know, we've had people that were just total crooks. In fact, ones that I've reported to the FBI, you know, internet fraud and all that stuff before. We went through that route a few times, you know, and I don't need to be dealing with these people. I shouldn't have to. Somebody else, another subscriber, watcher, made a comment that it should be like on Facebook where you can't see it. That's fine. That would be perfect. As I have an IT degree, not bragging, I have an IT degree in database design and construction. I've set up from scratch with just coded text databases like eBay. That was how you pass the classes. It's a multi-year program. They should be able to do this. You know, it's not rocket science, and I think they're not. Something's not logging, and they can't tell, you know, where it's going to. He quoted a name on the phone of where supposedly the offer went to, which may be the case, but this guy has been watching this item. There was only one watcher when that last one came in, and there's still only one watcher. He really wanted it. If you watch the video, I talked about this. He opened another account. He had a friend try and buy it, and all this stuff to get this. He's the one watching it. It makes no other sense to me. You know, I can't buy that as someone who knows how the systems can work. I think something's not logged, and it's sending it out, and it's not logging that these people are doing it. There's some glitch. Because he's blocked, maybe it's not logging it. I don't know, but there's something going on. It's all these coating are like nested into each other. And if you mess up one in one spot, it can cascade on down. And those are things I had a hard time finding coating glitches where maybe I had a 0 instead of an O or something stupid like that. One little thing can set off a whole bunch of stuff in there. Like Visual Basics, until I finally grasped Visual Basics, I would not be able to find my errors. It took forever. In fact, I had to have somebody else look at it before I could even figure it out. But once I figured out the same type of things I was doing, anyway. Visual Basics is another coding, just like PHP and stuff like that. Let's see here. Those photos were from restaurants in New York. Yeah, those are probably just random families. Then most restaurants would have, hey, we're sitting out. In fact, New York are one of the most popular ones that I run into, like on Broadway. Eating here with my girl, and it's usually like a World War I pilot or a World War II sailor or something, and they're out having dinner at one of these places. It was a way to get revenue, $1 for a photo eating out in a nice restaurant with your girl. That's what, even when I was a kid, you could still have that stuff done. It's like at like Disney or something, them taking a picture of you going down Splash Mountain or something. It's the equivalent. They still carry a value based on the restaurant or the facility that the photos were taken. I sell those type of things. I probably got 2 or 3 from soldiers right now, just like I just described, sitting on one of the shelves over there too. They sell though. Yeah, here's Duncan again. Vintage paper sells all year round to all over the globe. If I opened up some more countries, I bet you I would sell some more overseas once postal services back to normal. I've got a couple now from 2 different people, packages that they've paid for and specifically asked not to be sent until the post office issues are done. It's people I've dealt with. I don't really worry. They paid for it. I've never had an issue with them. Let's see here. eBay support is like the Wild West now. It's a nuisance to have to wait sometimes a day or more to get a response, but they have taken care of all the issues that I've reported. Every one of them I've gotten a response on. And with the post office and all these things, I had a package that was lost. It didn't have tracking for like 10 days. And I filed a report with them, and this is a first. They got back with me. And then they said it was they figured it out, blah, 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 and it was on its way and gave me an update on 2 different emails after that. Never had them do that before in my life. Even when I went in there and complained and called the boss and then called the boss, there's only so far that you can ever call, and then they don't give you out any information. I think it was like the regional, there's another name for it in the post office, but it was like a regional. It's the highest you could ever talk to in the post office, at least from my experience here. Yeah, see, Annie's saying the same thing. I just see that now about the restaurant names in New York. That's what's going to sell them for sure. When they announced stimulus payments, my sales went through the roof. I didn't pay any attention to that, really. My sales are still, they're going up again. I mean, I'm almost like dead heat with fourth quarter sales. I mean, I can't complain other than not having enough employees to do everything I normally do. That's the aggravating part. And I'm not going to rush to do it until I know everything's going well. With virus-wise. Larry, same thing. How can I identify good vintage photos? If you mean to buy, you're just going to have to get an eye for it. I mean, I can't explain. The content is everything in a photo. Content. That's all that matters is the content. Same thing with the real photo, real picture postcard, RPPCs. The content, like a train station in a small town, is almost always going to be worth like $40 or $50 minimum. Something from California. If you watch some of my older videos, Lake Tahoe postcards, there's some that go for $4,000 now for a single Lake Tahoe photo. And I've shown photos. We've sold Tahoe cars for $400 and $500 for one single postcard. Real photo, of course. They always go. I never have a problem with stuff like that. And I'll leave them set up there for a year or two if that's what it takes to get top price for them. Who cares? I got nothing into it at the end of the day. Even if I paid $1, I'll let it ride for $1. Listing fees, I mean, I pay a set fee for 10,000 listings, and then I pay for overage. Like right now, we're saving hundreds, I don't know, $400, $500, $600, $700 a month because of the 50,000 listings, because all I'm paying for is my store. That's it. Other than, final value fees, because once they hit that 10,000, I've got another 18,000 listings that they're covering now, and this is 3 months, so I'm saving a lot. I'm really surprised that they did that. At least that they allowed it to cover people like us who've got this many listings. So I'm just paying the $299 a month right now, and that's it for listing fees. Very surprised. This is a first for eBay. This is the nicest thing. Well, it helps them too, so I can't say it's nice. It was a good business decision in my book. One of the best ones they've done in something like this for someone like me, but it doesn't help the average person down the street, in all honesty. My take on it was, if your store costs, say, $50 or less, they should just give it to you and then give a discount to everybody else, so you're paying less to list in general. That would have been something nice. But I'm not going to complain, because again, we got free money, basically hundreds of dollars for 3 months. It'll be, I can't complain on that. Hang on, let's see where we're at. I sold a railroad lock last week for $1,704 at auction. George Kelly, I'm going to give you a warning on those. I would be extremely careful on selling locks on stuff that's valid, because there are laws on selling stuff. They still use some of those locks, believe it or not. I had 2 or 3 people tell me that that they put locks up and they were taken down, and they dinged them. I think they did get one of them got a suspension for 3 days, if I remember right. Now, not all of them are like that. I think if you have an obsolete letter or something, just like old police badges, you can still sell some. But I don't mess with any of those locks anymore. I've heard too many stories, and as I said, I've talked to some people. They sell for awesome money. Those type of things I try to sell locally or through some other source personally. I mean, you'd have better luck probably on Etsy or Amazon, I guess, than eBay. eBay scans for all those, from what I see. I had buyers who joined eBay only to buy from me once. One since 2004, buys every week without fail. I've got people that do that too. Quite a few, honestly. There's a lady who buys from us. Well, there's more than one, but one lady buys from me all the time, and she, as well as a couple other people, I let pay at the end of the month. They'll buy throughout the entire month, and then I'll just have them pay all at once at the end of the month. As long as it's not over 30 days, you can do that. Once you hit 31 days, you can't combine that into an invoice. I don't know if you guys know that, but most people don't bill like I do. I've never had an issue doing this either. In fact, it's increased my sales because these people can float it till, after rent or whatever the case may be, depending on when they're buying. And it's usually certain things that they'll just build up, and then it'll save me time. I'll pull them as I get them. I'll set them aside. It's one shipment, one package, one everything. So I do that all the time. But after 30 days, you just can't combine them, and you have to go in and then add them in as extra postage with the notes stating what they're for, so eBay won't try and say that you're trying to skank somebody on postage costs. So there's a block over there. You can fill that out, and that's what I do with it. Just cut and paste. Duncan, I went to scan an old letter and forgot to turn the scanner on. What I do, I've shown we have a Canon, what's it, a 6400, I think. In fact, it's upstairs. But I preview sometimes, and I've done it a couple times. I think everybody here, 7 or 8 of us, have done this exact same thing. We'll set up the scanner bed to scan a bunch of things on there. We'll hit preview, and then take them off like we scanned them and not thinking about it, because the screen looks the same as when you scan it. I've done that personally a couple of times. And it's a nuisance when you get a whole bunch of stuff set up, like stamps or labels or something. You got them all set up on there, and you have to reset them up, and then you still got to flip them over too. Yeah, that's something I've done. I don't know how you'd stop that. Just paying great attention, I guess, or putting a postie down and then taking it off once you scan them, I guess, may be a good thing. It's the only thing I can think of. In regards to records, are you picky on what you list, or do you list everything? I have some old stuff and not sure if I am wasting my time listing them. I look up everything. I don't sell or list anything unless, in like a 78. If I don't think I'm going to get like $15, I don't even list it too much anymore at all. I just won't list it. I'll put it in a bulk lot, and if I can't sell it as a bulk, I don't think it'll sell that way. It goes off to the dump, or I dump them off locally somewhere for somebody else to buy them at another auction. Sometimes I trash them, only because if I don't, I end up getting people calling me, hey, I just picked up some records, all the time, because most people know who I am, and I get a ton of calls from like locals who want to make a few bucks off of me by turning me on to some records and stuff. And anyway, I'm very picky. I only buy ones that are worth selling. I don't buy big bulk lots unless it's dirt cheap and I know there's enough in there to get my money back. I go through every lot. If I'm buying 10,045s, which I do too, I buy them in that big of a quantity, mostly Detroit, mostly old jukebox and stuff, businesses and things like that. But I'll look through. I might look through 1,000 of that 10,000 before I decide whether I'm even going to buy it. And if I can't look through them, I'll just leave. I won't mess around with them. I won't try and quibble. If I can't look through and spend, what I feel is comfortable to decide if I want to buy it, I'm just not going to buy it. I don't waste my time. I hate wasting time. I walk quick and I'm just, I zip around. I don't like wasting time. I get aggravated on the road sometimes, which I shouldn't. I'm not a violent driver or anything, but I just, I'd rather be moving than sitting at a light all day long. But anyway, if I don't see enough in there, I'm not going to buy them. If I've got to look through 9,000 of them, I still may look through the last 1,000 just to decide. If it got that far, I probably wouldn't do it just because of time. And when I'm looking through a batch that big, I'll pull out the ones that are good. Even if I can't buy them singly, I usually try and ask, will you just sell me these? Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But that way, if I do get enough, I already got the good ones pulled out. So come the end of the day, I don't have to look through them a second time. It saves you time, and I'll have that one stack, and that stack goes in a box. I always have boxes in my car when I pick up stuff like that. Wherever I go, I've used the same boxes for years. I might do a haul video too. I've got a bunch of boxes, and I talked about this last year. You can go back and watch it. I talked about it a couple of times. I bought a bunch of stuff out from a picker, and I still haven't even opened the boxes yet. I have no clue, and we're talking 40 or 50 14-inch cube boxes full from top to bottom from a picker who knew what he was doing. He passed. I bought out the leftovers from his estate and helped his wife at least gain some money, and we helped her clear out some stuff. So I got a ton of inventory. I might do a couple haul videos on that. I don't know how interesting it would be now. Again, they've been in boxes. I haven't a clue what's in the boxes. They were just thrown in there or taken as they were, and I left. I trust that this guy knows what he's doing. I've been buying from this guy prior to him passing for 4 years, 5 years. Always had good stuff. Records as an LP vinyl. Yeah, I look through vinyl. I only buy singles mostly and LPs. I'm not a big fan of LPs anymore at all. The new releases and like the Japanese imports, the specific gram-weighted new pressings, they've pretty much killed a lot of the market. Now, not all of it, of course, like a first press White Album numbered edition or something like that. The original ones were numbered. Those still sell and stuff like that. But all the other stuff that's been repressed, most anybody who's into records these days seems to only want those new pressings, and it's diluted. Now, you can go back and check on Pop Psych for yourself if you want, or Discogs. The price has steadily declined in LPs in general, so I try to only mess with 78s and 45s. Now, I do buy LPs, of course, but individual ones. I'll buy imports. Vertigo is one of my more favorite labels, I guess, European labels. Parlophone's always good, especially any Beatles on Parlophone. 45s are a little different because they mass produce so many of those. But there's some scarcer overseas pressings of hits like that than there are of U.S. Again, because they were originally released in England, the Beatles records. Just FYI. Hang on, let me see where we're at. Don, you don't use business cards, right? I have 2 different sets of business cards. We do an art business, and then I have a reselling business too. So yeah, I do have business cards. The same company who prints my postcards prints all of our business brochures. Everything's printed through the same company. Done it that way for years now. They've never done us wrong. Once we had an issue with something and they fixed it. Once our items even went to print, and this is Got Print, and they even fixed it even after they ran a page or something, is what they said, and they didn't charge me. So I've used them ever since. Quality's good, price is good. Oh, let's see here. Business cards, it depends. If somebody gives me a business card, I don't save business cards from people unless it's somebody I personally looked out and was interested in. I get stuff like that all the time, and not to be disrespectful. People send me stuff and send a business card in there. I'm not trying to be not friendly, but I've got my contacts for most things, and I've used them for years. I'm not going to branch off in some things like that just because of trust issue, trust factor. If you've dealt with the same person, and I don't see a benefit to. I just don't mess with stuff like that. I don't hand out business cards for the most part unless it's somebody I'm specifically courting to some extent for business, and we've got some mutual interest. It's just me. I'm funny like that. I know I'm weird on stuff. I have a huge number of photographs and negatives from the 70s from a Hollywood photographer, not the paparazzi style. Most have signed model releases. You would recognize the names. The signed model releases, if they're not to you, doesn't mean that you can still make copies, just FYI. The model release was only given to that person. You possessing the paperwork doesn't mean that you possess the release of that. It was only released to the company's name on there, just FYI. Not saying that was what you were thinking, but some are nudes that I can never unsee, like Rip Torn. Most are stage shots. There aren't really any true comps for these on eBay. I would be... Now, you have the originals, so it's a toughie. Something like that, you might have some... There could be some ramifications. And I'm not saying you don't have the right to sell the originals, but you might have an estate of coming after you. I had a couple issues with Richard Pryor's estate on several different occasions, on several sites now. I don't sell anything Richard Pryor at all anymore. Nothing. I don't care. Even if I don't mention his name in there, I avoid anything Richard Pryor. Just FYI, that's one of the ones. Now, you can sell a Richard Pryor record, but stuff like that, whether they were legal or not, I would be a little concerned on. I would want to look into that. Just my personal take on that. You could cover them up and try some of them and see. But again, I like Richard Pryor's estate. That threw me off guard. I didn't expect anything like that ever. I just figured, it's licensed stuff to CBS, what we were selling and stuff like that. There was no stake in it to Richard Pryor's estate. Now, I'm in the right. I can sell it. They shouldn't be able to do that, but eBay automatically sides. The only way to get something like that removed is to have the estate take it off. Whether, they would want to or not would be the question. So I would just be a little leery on that, especially since the Richard Pryor issues that we've had. And I've had 2 or 3 other people tell me they've had issues with Richard Pryor's estate over stuff like that too. Even stuff that they already got their money for, and this wouldn't be something that they would have a stake in. But that's how it works now. It doesn't matter what's right, wrong, or not. I have a public domain, 100% public domain Walt Disney clip that I was going to play in one of my videos at the very end. You see this old stuff I have at the end of it. And it's 100% that way because it was produced and paid for by the U.S. government for World War II raising of resources. And Disney blocked it. They don't have a right to block it because it's public domain in this country. 100%. It's listed on the government site. Anything the government paid for fully and was used for the government is public domain. And that's a fact. I know it is. I'm 100% I'm right on this one, but there's nothing I can do. It doesn't matter what's right or wrong in these cases. That's why I'm giving you the warning, only because of the type of contact. Now, if it was just some headshots or something, I wouldn't worry about it. But nude shots of stuff like that, you could be running off into some issues with it. Nothing against Larry Flint or anybody like that, but they've had legal lawsuits and things like that over all kinds of stuff like that, and I would just personally be a little leery of it. Just my take on it. And I would only put those in maybe the adult section either way. I know some people do get away with some semi-nudity on the main pages, but I never do that. I would never do that, even if it's able to go that way, just because I've gotten some really nasty emails, and I've seen some stuff in the postcard section that I would have never wanted to see that don't belong in that section when my kids were younger and, able to see it. So anyway. Harry Loomis, new and used. How are you doing? Welcome to a live show. Let's see if I can slide down just a little bit. We're going to go for another 10 minutes or so. Let me just shoot out Patreon one as well. On Patreon, Sunday at 2, I'll post another comment and you'll see the live show, but there'll be a live show on Patreon at 2 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be 2 hours, and I'm just going to be doing more store reviews. Just FYI, first in, so right on down the rest of the list. I promised you I'd catch those up. So I do see quite a few patrons in here, so I just want to put that out. Second part of the button video might be up tomorrow as well. It's, I think, done. I didn't start compiling it, but I may compile it after the show, which would put that one going up on Friday evening, Saturday morning at the latest, just FYI. If it doesn't go up Saturday, it'll probably go up Monday then, because of the 2 hours I'll have on the live show. Let's see here. My feed's gone again. Hang on. I hate that. I was right at a spot. Let's see here. Let's see. Where are we at? Have you ever sold vintage pinball machines? No, I never. I've done the little tabletop ones like Marks and stuff like that, but I've never sold a big one. We've got Mr. Pinball. I guess he's known across the country. This guy fixes them. He's got a pinball place maybe 6 miles or less from my house, and he's got hundreds of them in there. I mean, it's this massive place. If I ever get one, that's where they go. So just FYI, I don't mess with them. I just get them out of here right off the bat. Maybe he buys them. I think his name is Mr. Pinball. If you type that in, I think he does buy, even shipwise, if there's something special. Yes, you are correct. They are PT boats. I figured Mosquito. Most of the Mosquito ones were PT boats. John F. Kennedy served and saved the lives of, I don't remember how many, 3 to 7 people, I think, when his PT boat was. PT 109. There's a movie on that, too. I was pretty sure that's what they were. I don't know everything on that, but I know enough on the basics. Mosquito, in fact, I think I had a PT 109 as a child that I put together a model of, if I'm not mistaken. I used to love models. Let's see here. Yes, I do run behind. Yeah, I've already talked about the glitches a couple of times. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing, Aaron? Charles and Kimberly, I'm sorry I missed you. Daryl Price, how you doing? Electra. I saw that thing you posted, Hollister, Aaron. I did see that. I just haven't. As you know, I haven't been on God's too long on Instagram. I did shoot a 1-minute thing to put up, and I just never did it. eBay is a tech company, yet their engineers seem to be extremely underfunded. Well, they've cut tech support on many times, as well as they've cut the advertising. They've had an issue with Google as well, and then they did $4.5 billion buyback of stock. I mean, it doesn't show that they want the site to be successful in my book. It shouldn't just be the shareholders, because without us, they don't have anybody who would want to invest in the company. They're investing in the company based on people like us selling on it. If we don't exist, they have nothing to invest in. It's just a fact. It just makes no sense. Ashley, how are you doing, Ashley? Glad to have you. We go down to Dayton. We've been down to Wright-Patterson. There's an antique mall. I think it's Jeffrey's, like halfway between here and Dayton, I think is what it is. Yeah, there are a lot of glitches. And I agree with Annie as well. It's again, this goes back to them not investing this money all along. Do you think Amazon slacked off on upgrading their system even once? I don't think they've ever not improved their system. Even if it meant swapping an entire thing out, they did it. And that's why their system is so robust. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had an issue where it says, sorry, it's us on eBay lately. But on Amazon, I can't tell you when I've had a glitch where I couldn't list something. I don't remember any time, and it's been years. I can't even tell you when at all, which is crazy. And even HIP platform, and it's not anywhere near as big as eBay. I don't have any issues on HIP at all. None. I don't get it. Even with Mask, we got 4,000 or 5,000 items on that site for one alone. I don't have issues. Gary in Daytona, yeah, used to call it tweak it here and you'd break it there. That's about right, I wonder. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have the good intentions with the coding and stuff, but, if you're hiring somebody who hasn't done it for a long time, or you're rolling out stuff that's something new to your system, a lot of companies have, I took network administration and system development. a multi-course degree. There's like companies that'll be using like 6 different systems in their business. They'll have there's businesses that were still running 10 years ago Windows 95 along with modern day versions of Windows because all they needed was 95, and some of them have like internal networks that don't actually need to get outside and connect with the internet. It's just an internal where they still run a server, usually 2007 or something along that line, Windows Server 2007. And they'll have different versions in it. They'll have a firewall that separates it, so a certain area gets outside, and they don't need all that stuff on the inside. And they all have to mix and match together. You'll have different years, different types of systems. One does this, one does that, and they all have to sync up. And that's usually where people have issues. And most of the time I see a fail, or in class-wise, that's all the time. That type of issue is what usually got us, Just that's what it is. Not realizing something does it. They didn't run a virtual machine version of it for a length of time to see if it works. They missed a bug, and bugs happen all the time with anything. There was a real big one with Windows the other day with security features, and it's been fixed now with the last update. But basically, they could pretty much hack in with, I think it was with Chrome too, if I'm not mistaken. I did read it and I did update, so I knew I already fixed it. But if you didn't update Windows and you're using Windows, you need to go update Windows. This was something that just happened if you use Chrome, and I'm almost sure it was Chrome, but it would allow somebody to break into Chrome and get into your system, basically. Anyway. Is anyone listed in next to the price? It says blocked by X-Frame options. Have not seen that. Kenneth, how are you doing, Kenneth? There are ongoing bugs dealing with the stores that have had reports on the forums since 2014. Now that I don't know exactly which ones we're talking about. I don't mind the eBay store page. I just don't like the way it's set up. YouTube's back of the house is far worse. Their new changes make it look like 1990s to me. What I see with my view from my channel page, it's just terrible. It looks awful compared to what it used to look like just 2 months ago, now that they forced it on me. And it's so slow. Google went backwards in with YouTube, in my book, with the way it looks and acts and everything else. eBay is still working. I don't have all those issues. I mean, I do have little simpleton glitches, but it's not that much of an issue. If you go back to, the 90s with eBay, there was 3 pages to list any item. And then you had to upload your photos to another site, and then you had to know enough code just to pull in the IMG equals SRC and the whole works for it, just to get your photos to show, because it had to pull from your location, your storage facility. So you had to have, in most internet providers at that time had like 2 or 5 gig of photo space, so you could only list so much, and then you'd have to pay for more too back then, just for photo storage. That's how it used to be. It was all auctions. There was no bins, no nothing else. It was all basics. You could even bid on your own items back when it first started. Once you could bid on them once. In every item at least once, and that was it. And that was true. And you could leave feedback for your buyers back then, negative if you wanted. There wasn't any 5-star system. That started in the restaurant and hospitality industry. That's where 5-star came from. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't personally mind it. I like pick click better, though, the way it displays. eBay should have that option. And if they allow a third-party app like that to come in and do it, they should be able to do it themselves. It just makes no sense. Philly fan, how are you doing? In South Carolina, Philly fan in South Carolina, huh? We're going to cut it off in a few minutes here. I've tried to get down through the feed, through the questions, and I know I still am far from it, but I tried not to stray off too much. Cornelius, we are doing now better than in fourth quarter. See, mine's about the same as fourth quarter, right level with it. And again, I'm not listing, my listing's down like 80%. I'm listing 80% less than I normally do because all my listers are gone. And I've got, priorities to do this, to do that, and set up and everything on. I mean, my life still goes on because I still do the same thing either way. We still got merchandise coming in and inventory and stock and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah, the glitches with the typeface. I remember that, Annie. I have a glitch where I put any offer over 0 should be allowed. eBay changes them to an amount constantly. Haven't seen that one. I don't do any of those auto accept, honestly. I look at every single offer that comes in one by one personally. I never do any auto accept or auto declines. Who knows? I mean, I'll go back and check the price. I'll go check comps again before I accept anything or make a counter, because maybe I looked at it 2 months ago and there were none others up, and now there's like 10 and they've all been selling for far less than I thought. So I always look at them before I accept anything. Annie, I do wish they had a better way to report bugs, like some direct way to contact with a tech group. Yeah, the people on the forums I don't think are tech people, from what I understand. Last year, now this is true, this is an honest, true story, eBay contacted me. Same gentleman I talked to. They can ding me for saying this. I don't care. This is true. And I had a video conference with the heads of 3 different departments, and apparently, too, there was a couple people listening that I just couldn't see as well. So 4 or 5 people, all department heads, and I had asked some questions on my items aren't showing up in Chrome searches and off eBay platform and blah, blah, blah. They hadn't a clue on why I wanted to know that information, why I wasn't, why that's an issue to me. They didn't understand why it was important for items to show up in a Chrome search. eBay didn't understand that. And then when I asked some technical questions, nobody in there had the technical knowledge to answer any of it. And they were basic questions. In my book they are. And if I'm talking about a technical issue that, they're conferencing me over a technical issue with the ad blocker and all that stuff, and they don't have anybody there who knew the tech, it was crazy. So I asked, well, can I talk to somebody who understands the tech side of this? I said, I have an IT degree. I'm interested to know, if you can explain to me, why what you're quoting is correct, even though I knew it wasn't, because again, I did corporate America. I knew the BS lines that we were told to say. No, I couldn't talk to anybody from tech. They refused. Nope, no one talks to tech. That was literally what they told me, and that turned me off, because I just wanted to have the issue fixed. If the issue was fixed, because I used, the offers or the promoted listings before that occasionally. I haven't used them since, because their answers weren't correct in my book. To say that less than 2% of people even use ad blocker is crazy. Everybody pretty much I know has some form of ad blocker on, We've got a couple. It was crazy. But anyway, not enough on that. Fester, CV Bear, hard to find value on postcards. eBay is the best place. Between eBay and Terapeak, that's probably the best sources to find prices on postcards, You can't use the books. I just use the ones on eBay. And if it's not the exact same item, I judge them by type of item, type of business, type of city, the era. So if one card from a city that's of this type of building goes for this and a real photo from 1910, I'll judge it by that same factor. If in doubt, you can always put them up as an auction. Pinkerton is only one. Yeah, you can sell Pinkerton, Western Union, stuff like that too. I wouldn't mess with any railroads if we're talking about the locks. TJ, I also had a blocked buyer purchase an item from me. Now, my blocking, it won't allow them to buy the item. It'll block them from buying it. But once it went out, it seemed now they can contact me again was the issue. Even though eBay says it's not from offers to watchers, it was only on the 2. And again, it's happened twice to me, and dozens of other people said the exact same thing. When the offer went out, within less than an hour, both times with me personally, from those offers, I got contact on wanting to buy that item, and it wouldn't let them. And both of them I had said, was it an offer for me? And it sounded to me as well that they were unable to accept it, because they said they even went over and above and tried to buy it, just straight out, and it still wouldn't let them do that. I can't imagine, with all the items I have up, that the 2 people who contacted me, who I blocked, just happened to be contacting me over 2 items I had just sent out offers to watchers, and then everybody else who said that this happened to them all are back tied again to offers to watchers. I just think eBay doesn't know what's going on and they can't figure it out, and that's, again, I don't think it's logging who it's all going to, or it bypasses a feature when you send something out or something, or voids that lock on them being able to email you again. If you aren't aware, if you just block somebody on your block buyer list, they can still email you. You have to go into site preferences under buyer requirements and click a little radio button that says block buyers on your blocked buyer list from emailing you. And then it's done. At least that's what it's supposed to do. Just FYI. Yeah, once an item shows tracking delivered, even if they say they didn't get it, you're free and clear every time. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut it off in just a minute here. We're running down to the end here. Been on here for a while. So we are going to cut it off here. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I am going to be doing another video with questions, answering questions. So if you have any questions or you've had that glitch happen to you after you've sent out offers to watchers, please leave a comment in the comment section under the video, not in the live chat, but in the comments section. You know, I want to have at least something next time I talk to eBay to say, hey, look, no one had this happen except the ones that sent out offers to watchers, because I really think it's tied to that, in all honesty, in my opinion. So anyway, I'm going to let it go at that. I do appreciate everybody coming on tonight. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Another video up tomorrow. Again, Patreon Sunday, you'll see an announcement for that as well. So wish you a good evening, and hopefully you're staying safe.